Hey everyone, I'm Tassinix, and welcome to Plotting and Scheming, the Grand Arena focused podcast centered around the top 100 in Kyber 1 for Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. I am joined by my regular co hosts, Dagger, TJ, Sasha Aisha, and Fatal. Gentlemen, another week in the top bracket. You'll recall at the end of the last season, I swept 3-0. I went 1-2 this week. I ate it, man. First round was versus Sasha. A lot of fun, actually. Fatal was kind enough to set the front walls for each of us. And as an added twist, we both had the same defense that we needed to fight. So, fair match. I did not win the day there, but I had a great time doing it. Second round was versus a cheater, Erodium. So, unusual distinction. Fought my share of Erodiums, fought my share of cheaters. Never a cheater Erodium, but here we are. And then third round was versus Aesop, where, yeah, man, one miscalculation caused the cascade that basically damned me there. But Dagger, how'd it go for you?
Waiting for the in-between episode.
That good. Yep. All right.
Yeah, we're doing that this week, right? Because 3v3 is over?
Yeah. All right. TJ then.
Holding hands with Dagger, waiting for the in-between video. No, it was a rough week, Ben. Let me just say the match between you and Sasha was probably my favorite part of anything that happened for threes. That'll probably go for the entire season that we're in right now, because watching the stress and the struggle of fun teams was the best. And then we come to what I faced, which is the can you beat LV clones? Can you beat Ahsoka? Check yes. Okay. Check yes. Okay. Check one no. Probably lose. And it's not to take anything away from the opponents, but we're all playing the same game. And that literally determined my fate come both other rounds. So I went 1 and 2.
Yeah. Sorry to hear that. In the same boat.
It's all right.
By the way, Dagger, you didn't say what was your actual score for the week?
2-1.
All right. Well, yeah, at least you got that going for you, which is nice.
Did you check boxes, Dagger? Did you check boxes?
Yeah. So the entire the only box that needed to ever be checked was can you beat their Lord Vader? Yes, no. Did they beat yours? Yes, no. This format fucking sucks.
You gotta do Ahsoka as well. She has a play in there, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I just mean like if you fail versus Lord Vader, you're done. If you fail versus Ahsoka, there's like 3 things that can do it. Like, this entire 3v3 meta is ass, and I'm not going to pretend it's not.
I've not had a terrible time, but yeah, I can accept that I'm a minority.
I won the only 2 rounds I played, so I mean it's not like I'm having a terrible time. I'm just saying this format's ass.
All right, well, Sasha Aisha, how was your week? I know how your round 1 went.
Right. So yeah, I had 3 legit matches and went 3-0 in the top bracket, so that was fun.
Nice.
But yeah, well, thank you. But like, I think if I were to characterize our first round, it wasn't as much me versus you. It was you and me versus Fatal. And while I had more banners than you, I think it's fair to say we both lost to Fatal. We didn't get our full clear. It was a ton of fun. Like that match was it was a blast. I had to do my attacks in kind of off hours because of family obligations and stuff, but it was a ton of fun. So that was great. And my other matches were fun too. And I think, I've looked back on my history in threes and generally like that first week of any seasons, often the case in fives too. I just tend to enjoy it the most. There are more puzzles that are still like clinging to novelty and haven't yet been solved. And I don't know that I'll necessarily enjoy the next week or the week after that nearly as much, but this was fun.
Fair. All right, glad to hear that. And last but not least, Fatal, how did the week go?
2-2. It was pretty much what I figured that the season was going to be. Fatigue defense is effectively dead, and that leaves me in a very fucking weird spot because I'm not going to stop posting until I figure out something better. And that pretty much just means that I'm destined to lose most matches unless, like, the only way out at this point is, ironically, that I need to do a bunch of like research and practice and try to just get kind of what I did in 5v5 for the last few seasons that I'm coming out of, except 5v5 has the super teams going on.
Mhm.
And 3v3, I think, doesn't. I don't think the 3v3 super teams work. But, there are a few teams that are starting to build up some strength that, like, 3v3 felt the effects of the meta issues way later than 5v5 did. And it would have been dire for me if 5v5 wasn't coming out of it. But the fact that 5v5 is coming out of it now, like, I wouldn't really say I feel any better or worse than before. It's just like, oh, well, now I look forward to 5v5 and 3v3 is kind of the downer. But having seen 5v5 kind of fix its issues makes me not too worried for 3v3's future. It's just sort of a, okay, we've been here before. What does this mean for me? How am I going to, like, try to adjust while I'm not pulling shit. I'm like, I refuse. I'm bitching and moaning about like how many teams people are pulling lately, but that, technically speaking, the amount of teams that people are pulling benefits me. So at some point I should just shut the fuck up, but I'm still just like, what
Okay.
are you doing? Right, like
Just
people are posting shit like Aiden and CLS on
Yeah.
me, and it's like, you're holding 40 teams for a 15 size board. I understand holding like your 20 best teams, but how are you not then, like, or even like 25 if you're really just like
Filled
trying
with
to be
fear.
sure?
well,
But
I
brother,
mean,
why am I playing GSC from like 5 years ago?
Yeah.
like if I can ask, because it's fair. Have you heard of the Ray and Pray? Well, now we're at the LV and Flee. We've literally
and
shifted
Flee.
the agenda, right? The check box is done.
Except
also
Ray is
asking if-
mechanically easier to beat, and Lord Vader,
Right.
like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing, right? Like, when Ray is the boogeyman, it's fine-ish because she's not as toxic. She has play patterns I think you can exploit a little bit easier. Lord Vader with his current team, like, how are you exploiting any part of this team? Please tell me.
Well, I mean, I have an
I'm
alternative
rebetting for this week,
solution.
and we'll see how it goes. I
Yeah, I have an
unloaded a bunch of
alternate
teams,
solution.
and yeah.
I don't know if you've seen this week, but I have a really easy solution. It feels super simple. You just let Fatal do all of the setting, and we just walk in with what we got, and then it's a fun time. Again, I'm going to
If we
keep
die, we
reiterating.
die. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, but
Watching
no,
the
but
match.
this is what I was saying on the. I don't know if I said this on one of our podcasts, but this entire Lord Vader team just feels like frustration mechanics because like you
said
have
this.
to GL it, and then there's only like 2 GLs that can beat it. So it's like,
Mhm.
okay, like
Mhm.
Yes.
I understand CG's point, but at the same time, it's like you get how this is like toxic. You like Fatal mentioned pregame we talked about the Marvel Snap and like their design space, and this just feels like a little bit toxic design space to enter for CG. Not that it's like the end of the world, but
I mean, if you
come
really
on.
want to just hold, that's okay. I don't see what the. All right. Well, the
Yeah,
thing I'll say is,
that's
you
what I
mean
intend
hold
to
the
do.
80%? You mean hold the 80% win rate?
It's
don't-
difficult for me to imagine how that fails. That seemed pretty straightforward to me.
I failed, and I had my opponents fail. It is not.
And the numbers
as,
aren't great.
I'm telling
Yeah, that's what
you,
I'm
you're
saying,
saying your sample size is that of
Yeah, it's
you.
1 of 1.
I-
I'm not.
And
fair
that's what I said.
enough.
I watched yours to see adjustments that I'll make, but I had mine fail. Actually, we were all together when mine failed, and it's
Yeah,
like
we
check
literally
box
watched
hit.
it.
I seen
Yeah,
it.
and so it's like
just because people drop with it doesn't mean that it can't work. It might need
Oh,
retooling
exactly.
or whatever. But
I
Well,
don't
yeah, I'm
disagree
not
with
saying it
anything you're
doesn't
saying.
work. I'm not
Right.
saying it doesn't work. What I'm saying is that the one counter that we all agree does work seems dodgy at the moment.
Yeah,
I know that like Malicos Starkiller, I saw a lot of people mentioning that the data on it was like weirdly high. That like that also could be something to.
Well, also I've heard. I mean, we're
Use it.
getting a little ahead of ourselves because that's the next topic. But I mean, I guess we might as well. Hold on, let me check the.
Yeah, SOK
Yeah.
has a very solid 56% win percentage. Just very solid.
Well, now what filters are
What
applied?
percentages don't matter.
Yeah, but what filters are applied? Qualify that if you would, please.
Hold on, I'm applying more filters to see.
Okay. Anyway,
because
this is how we're ever so smoothly and elegantly transitioning into meta-analysis. And guys, wouldn't you know it, topic 1 is Lord Vader clones, how we were dealing with it.
Adjusted by R8
Mhm.
on both sides, minimum 51.6%, my friend.
The percentages have never mattered to me personally.
I'm not saying they matter to you personally. What I'm saying is that if there is something that works, it's going to be an uphill battle. Like, we are missing something as a community.
Mhm.
Well, it's a premier new defense team. This is the arms race to figure out, and whosoever figures it out first will get an advantage, and then everyone else will be like, "Oh, fuck! All right."
Yeah. Well, I want to go ahead and cop to this in round 1 versus Sasha. I kind of felt like I wanted to try Seer Malicos against his Lord Vader, and then I was thinking, am I going to bring Fulcrum? I don't feel like Cal is going to be enough, and it did occur to me that I had Maul Gar ISC as a potential offensive team in my mind, but it's like, yeah, maybe this is going to be what we need. I have the video right here. Let me pull it up for you. Starting off. So this is Sasha's standard Lord Vader. When we say standard, 3 protection primaries, probably. Crit damage triangle, high speed, high 570s, around 580, some, high offense, stuff like that. All around 12-ish thousand, more or less a standard Lord Vader. But you'll see we get
And the
Calf.
apodotacron with no thickness.
Yes, that as well. So we see there's the protection up. He didn't get the full heal because of the healing immunity applied beforehand, so that was neat. I liked it. But you can see, and this is my Lord Vader modded Maul, so still with 4 protection primaries and about 11,000 offense naturally.
Do you want to take a guess what the win percentage of this is on Insight?
Yeah, I'm sure you're winding up to what I was about to say. Go ahead and drop it.
29.13%.
Yeah.
And as I was talking about, Starkiller appears to be doing better.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah,
You're saying Starkiller is said to be doing better?
Yep, over person who was not Malicos or Seer.
You mean-
Over Maul.
Are you
Yeah.
wait, are you talking
Oh,
about
yeah.
like Starkiller unique activated, or what are we talking about?
Seer,
the third.
Malicos, Starkiller.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'm looking at that. That's a pretty good call. That it does look more prominent.
Yeah,
What's the win rate
2/3
look
out
like?
of 12 battles. Yeah,
There are
2/3 out of
mechanics
12
in play where, like, damage over time does half damage because of Starkiller
Right.
Unique's passive and
Okay.
a whole bunch of shit that, yeah, it seems like a sector worth exploring.
All right, that's good to know. So yeah, I mean, one of the changes, I know we're all on the same page here, but one of the changes I made in response to this week was way upping the offense on Maul. Since I feel like the writing's on the wall that we're done with the protection Maul days, I think. I went back to health primary circle, 3 offense primaries, and right around 12,400 offense with 92,000 health. So we'll still get a good bit of anguish offense. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. Yeah, now that my cam just died, ever so convenient. Show you. Here's Maul now, 92, 292. I did drop a good bit of speed to get to these other numbers, but yeah, pretty robust there. Malicos, I also amped. Where you at, buddy? Still about 250-ish speed, 102,000 health, 12,500 offense starting. I don't know that I'm still going to attempt this week because I'm sure we've all responded by this bulk build that emerged through the community. It was determined that with the CX2 unique Omicron in 3 versus 3 active, that it is more life total, considerably more life total, to go with the health primary. So I know Fatal was talking about that with us the last couple episodes here, surmising that it was looking like health was going to break harder. And then we saw that test footage video with the tooltips showing the math, showing the calculations, confirming, in fact, with that CX2 effect going on, it was easily in favor of health. So this is the response to it. And if you want to try this at home and calculate what you would look like here with all those multipliers figured in, it's health times 3.2 plus your protection number. You take that by itself, multiply it by 1.9, and then add those two figures. Oops, that's the wrong one. Go, and then plus. Man, I did not do that multiplication correctly. So hold on.
And this is before or after any Datacron stats?
I think it's excluding Datacron stats, right? This is just with multipliers from leadership from CX2.
Just to be clear,
Yeah.
Health is better than protection on Datacrons only. For your mods, the primaries are pretty much like exactly even. That it's just a question of like, do you have a better health primer with percent protection secondary or vice versa?
Yeah. I tried it. I mean, if these calculations that were shared through the community, based on that test footage, are correct, then I'm coming in just a hair under 1 million health, 993,170. So
The number
Yeah,
that
I
I
mean-
saw calculated was one of them is 52,500 and one of them is 51,800 or 900. It's like the LV or it's the GL unique giving 90% to 24% protection on top of a higher base versus doubling 16% off of lower base plus CX unique just happens to like it doesn't sound like it would be the exact same, but for the most part it is the exact same.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess maybe the follow-up question would be, okay, if they're pretty close, then like maybe 12% protection is probably better than 8% health for like secondary wise, but that's kind of why I just default to saying like you're at the mercy of your roll quality mods wise.
I mean, if it ends up that protection it's kind of a wash, then protection would certainly be the better default modding then for when we go back to 5 versus 5, and you're not agonizing over the loss of the 100% health. Ultimately, there might be other 5 versus 5 Omicrons with the rest of the clones that haven't had their kits released yet that might make you stick with health. We don't know, but just based on what you're saying there, protection is certainly the better default posture.
If you're corner cutting and like just try to be lazy, sure, but it's not optimal.
It's not optimal?
No, the ideal way to go would be like grab whichever bulk primer you have that has the best speed and bulk secondary pairings to go with. Right, like if it's a good percent health, grab like your best percent protection, unless you're like, well, my best health primary only has like a 3% protection roll. But maybe you got a protection primary that has like a 4 or 5% health roll, and you're like, oh shit. Like, all right, that probably gets priority here.
Mm-hmm. I might take a look at some of this as we're going. But yeah, I know we all more or less responded to this Seer Malicos Maul thing by going with this Bulk Lord Vader. I know our numbers are going to vary on the particulars, but the goal was the same. Get huge, resist this burst, see how it goes. So that's the idea there. As far as other things that fight it, Slacker did it for me once. We've already discussed that, by the numbers, it doesn't look like it's super reliable, but I don't know. I really was thinking that I should go in with a tank, and the chat sold me on running with Hux. I enjoyed having Hux. Hux was cool. So Slacker Dre Hux did it for me. I took a Kron that had a little bit of health on it, but it had a good chunk of offense, some crit damage, and buffs on 3. Set 20. So I like that setup, and it got the job done 1 of 1. Aside from that,
your kill order there was your kill order Apo first.
Yes, because
just to clarify for folks.
Yeah, I have to look at it here, but the thing where you can't kill him is disabled by the presence of a GL enemy.
Yeah, I've watched your fight, Tass, and I'm going to tell you, you had very nice RNG Where Dagger will tell you something different. I've watched it over and over again to see the variations. The buff on basic is absolutely, in my opinion, now watching everything the right way to go. That helps the added thing. You got like the perfect rolls of something I would not compare as an equal setup. If you listen to
Yeah, it
Dagger's
has
point
like
of what happened to him,
it has like a 12% win percentage difference with buff.
it's like, well, it's not just that. It's the pieces of you were all in and basically landing almost everything on CX2. Um, so it's like I do not consider your fight to be the most because doing the same fight, taking the same people or whatever else, I was getting what Dagger called out too when we were discussing it.
All right. Well,
Basically,
I got
swipe
the
miss.
fight on screen
Go
here.
ahead, watch. You'll see the fight. Watch how your fight plays out. And what I'm going to say, it's like you had great RNG.
We stabbed the real Oppo.
Of course.
I was debating whether to swap, stab.
It's the right call, especially on the turn order, depending on whatever else. Like I said, you're landing.
Now I did
almost
choose to
everything
go
el-
in on the assist here instead of the reset.
Mhm.
I think it's the all in on him.
Oh, he's gone. So this is again is fine. That's normal. One, you're stable to go after him. So in my fights, CX2 is stealth and gone. You're not getting to him. You are absolutely getting to CX2, which feels off. Be it whatever you want to call it, and then you get
Just enough of
exactly
a
what
speed
ramps his mastery,
differential.
which is the evasion. And then you're sitting there stuck, happened to Dagger, and then the exact same thing happened to me. You got really lucky on what was going to take place. If he goes into stealth and you're stuck, there is a potential that it moves very quickly in the opposite direction. And again, that doesn't mean that crew is better because obviously they can bypass taunt. What does that do? Maybe
Yeah,
durability or
that's why I
something else.
ultimately went against it because I was sitting there
And
thinking
that's
Can we
and
about
that's
go?
that.
Can we go back to fight start? I
Absolutely.
want to see something.
What are you looking for?
Uh, just wanted to check an option on something.
Mm-hmm.
The thing, well, CX isn't targetable, but the thing that stood out to me is Darkrai is going before Hux, that we're actually kind of robbing ourselves of cheating out an extra turn here. You can't poke CX, I guess.
no,
Um,
no, he won't be able to do the poke. Not right now.
but it is still potentially like an extra turn that we could cheat something out, right? Like maybe it's Hux Mass first on Oppo, get the kill, Darkrai reset, poke or poke CX, and like
Yeah,
once he's stunned, then he can't dodge, so you're minimal RNG there. Like
I can see it.
this is all I'm kind of getting at right now. Is I get that the fights were frustrating, and I'm not trying to subtract from that, but this is what happens when a Premier team comes out, right? That kind of
Right.
incentivizes us to go into puzzle solving mode and look what we got.
That's what I've been doing through the pieces of watching like Tassus fight or having it, even to watching. And I actually do have my video. So if you want it, it's fine, Tass, where I went through, was doing all the pieces. Not the loss, the success, taking crew.
Mm-hmm.
But then my loss echoes what Dagger had said to me as far as like, man, CX2 basically stayed there stealth and dodge, and I couldn't do anything, and then my team went away. And that's like my round 3. Watching it in stream, everybody was there when we were doing it, exactly how it took place. And again, I'll take the buffs on basics versus the 2% offense because I know we talked about it with Dagger too. It's like, yeah, watching your fight, I'll go that way. But he went into stealth, so be it like where they were at turn order wise, couldn't do anything to him. And by that team, my team just fades away because it's so aggressive, the climb.
Mm-hmm. Fair. Well, what else do we have here on fighting the Lord Vader clones? Any other comments? I also wanted to mention, I think I saw that Bane was working for some folks. Nice. See that.
I did not try Bane, but I did twice go in. This is the benefit of like the first week muddiness, not yet descended into annoying efficiency, or not fully at least. So allowing for a planned 2-shot. And I took JML, and like we said, you can target Apo out of the gate. And I did not get a clean shot, 1-shot either time, but I think against yours, Tass, in the first round, I was able to get all the sides and was left with just Lord Vader, and it's a cheap cleanup. I think I used GG or something like that, and then in my third match against Baby Yoda, gosh, did I do it each time? Yeah, third match against Baby Yoda, I got Apo out. I did not get CX2, but BKM was able to do the full clean. It little sketch, but it worked.
I see.
All right, so if you don't mind, I want to run down a little bit of data for you guys.
Sure.
Leia was 66.28% in 86 battles, so there's some interesting stuff there. There is not a single version of Darth Bane lead that is over 13%, over 14%, because one's 13.89.
Yeah.
C-Bane is 36.36%. I don't believe there's a single JML that won. I don't believe there is a single JMK that won.
Right.
Lord Vader Bane was 100% for whatever that's worth.
Kind of cool to know.
The guy
Yeah,
who
that if
fought
you don't have
Taff is
Apo.
on here with his Rex Cassian ninth sister.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna lean on that this week.
Yeah. Try that at home for sure.
I would also say,
I'm basically like
Rex
no
Cassian.
Jabba won, no Ahsoka won.
No. I thought I saw a percentage where there was like one fight or something like that. Nope, never mind. I did post the video, Taz. It's not gonna be anything high quality, but you'll see a difference in the fight. I took the crew. That was my round one.
Sure.
I did make a couple of notes that I don't know if I want to give away right now of what I think. But you'll see it was like the 49. So I got it down and it felt like the average fight. But to Dagger's point,
got it up on screen.
Yeah, you'll see.
Basically, my only frustration with this, like Fatal said, or to Fatal's point, there is light at the end of this tunnel. It was meant to be this good on defense, so it should be this good on defense. But it really, my irritation is less with the team and more just with the format of being more punishing if you fail than in 5v5. So it's like, if you do fail here, it's like, all right, cool, you can wait to see if your opponent succeeds. If they succeed, you can just like not do it. Save yourself the time, basically. That's the part that frustrates me.
If it ends up that it's like, okay, the CX2 evasion is deciding, like, let's say, I mean, he's been here fucking plenty of times before, certainly. Like, SLK is like the, oh shit, there's something bad on defense, send him in as a janitor, and then it turns out that, like, okay, there's no way to theory craft around this, it's purely just, like, CX2 evasion RNG. That's kind of shit. Like, that would be a, like, okay, just, like, CX2 should not have been made dodge mastery at some point. Like, if they wanted to, like, safety valve, because CX2's dodge mastery wouldn't matter for any non-shield I can think of.
You notice I made that hit, right? So it's like at this point I'm ramping enough to where I was getting up there. So I actually got the swipe and it landed.
Do you have all the Omicrons on your Ray?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course, sir. I may not be the best at modding, but the Omis are lit.
Yeah.
If it is a matter of busting open the wallet side.
But you'll see right here, right? I'm too far gone as far as my mastery ramp up. So it's like you're gonna see how hard this hits. And this is where it comes back where I was like, no, it's the 2% because I did it enough times that it's like, that's okay. Do all that you want. And that's where it comes out. It's like gone.
Womp.
So that right. And then like we told you before, it's like you're gonna see where I put enough into Vader where it's like he's gonna ramp back up. And then we're at the full money. So pop, almost dead. And it's back to the normal LV versus SLKR. I'm way higher than you now at this point. All of your tricks are gone. So
I don't think this is unwinnable by any means. Like I said, I just my initial feeling is that every time we have a meta like this, it's just not fun.
All right.
It is the checkbox.
Yeah. This reminds me of when everyone posted Levy and you had a 70% chance to win with your Empire, and if you got 30%, you could just go fuck yourself. The difference is you cleared all the ground before you got your 30%. At least this way, if you get your 30%, you can just be like, cool, I'll just be done.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, if we don't have any more notes on that one, I'd like to move on to our next item. The focused datacrons from set 21. The good, the bad, the ugly. Honorable mention first to Hera, because for the team itself, for Phoenix, not really interesting. Against Aesop in round 3, that was the cron he set with his Rey, Swallow, Exile, Ezra. And, nice stats on it, but the thing that's really great is the 25% turn meter, which is not otherwise naturally on set 21. It's basically anti-Balin, because you don't have a 25% dark side turn meter to meet it. If they all get to go, it's essentially curtains off rip, in my opinion. I don't think it's even close. I did manage to sweat my way through that though with Seer Malicos Starkiller, what it was worth. All right, so enough on that one from me real quick. About Afra on offense, nobody set Jabba, so no real offensive uses. Learned that Afra with Chrysanthemum is easily beaten by Sidious. It is not easily beaten by Sidious if it's 000 there instead of Chrysanthemum. So if you're inclined to set it on defense, set her with her murder droid. I think that's the way. Next, the Zalbar Cron.
Also, really quick, if you're going to set it on defense, set the TM expiring level 6 from last set.
Okay.
Because then they have a TM train. I'm not saying it's better than the Africron, but I'm willing to wager that it's at least a contender there. Because I remember I lost to that Cron because I just didn't get a turn.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Good to know. Yeah, the Zalbar Cron. So DR Zalbar is just beautiful on offense now, right? It's like 55, 56 banners. I slaughtered a great mothers. It was beautiful. And I also learned that it by no means stops Gungans. Just ran roughshod right over it. No issue at all. So really disappointed to see that. I did not myself have the Dabod Boba Datacron, but saw that it was taking on Saw teams, 55, 56 banners, something like that. I don't know what else, but I hope you guys have thoughts to add from there, because that's about it from what I see.
Oh boy, do I.
Yeah, have at it.
Yeah, so as far as the Zalbarcron goes, the difference between 54 and 56 banners on that team on offense is negligible. So then it just becomes, where do you want to use that Cron on defense? And I didn't use it on Rey and I didn't use it on Ahsoka. So at that point, where are you using it? So I'm not saying the Cron is bad. I'm just saying I still need to find a use for that, because the health alone should make it usable somewhere. And I just don't. I didn't find myself using it first week. The Afra is the same problem. Afra doesn't need her Cron to beat anything she's already beating because nobody's setting Jabba. So it's like, where can I place the Doubt Cron where it might make a difference? I was considering putting it on Malgus, just because you get extra doubt there, and it needs a little bit of a leg up because it doesn't have Darth Revan anymore. But yeah, the Phoenix one, because of the turn meter, is pretty solid. Plus, I think I have mine's level 6, and you already get the defense at level 6. So it's not a ton of defense, but you already have it. That one I didn't use on defense. I used on offense just for a little bit extra whatever. I may try it on the Rey team just because the stat profile, like you said, is not something that's offered. And then the Dad by Boba one, I don't know if you need the level 15 for it, but it is beating Saw, which I think is really cool. Other than that,
it beats Jabba.
Jabba,
Honestly,
everything beats Jabba.
But the point is, out of all of them, realistically, the Scion one and threes has the most legs, in my opinion. Because again, to the point, it's like there's other pieces to it, but Zalbar, you don't need the Zalbar Cron for 2 banners in this world. Is whatever, my opinion. Because I know that Tass, we talked about it.
Yeah,
You were like,
the
why am I
highest
Zalbar Cron? I don't need it.
aspiration.
Really quick.
Nah.
really quick to run down some stats.
Please.
Beats Jabba, doesn't beat QA, doesn't beat Leia, beats Enoch, LOL, okay. Doesn't beat Balin, beats Great Mothers, kinda. 64% versus Great Mothers is what I mean. The other ones I mentioned that it doesn't win, it's like 20% or worse. It does not beat Ahsoka. It does beat Reva, kinda, sorta, depending on your relics. And then it beats a bunch of other like bad teams. But the crowning achievement of it is it beats Reva and it beats Saw.
I think Saw. If you want to talk about anything as far as the top, I'm gonna put it top 5 like defensive holder for what it's doing. The minute you say it beats Saw right now with that setup, everything else minus GLs, if we're talking all the good stuff. I'm saying you've already set your things, you have them on defense. The most limited counter setup, in my opinion, is that Saw team, and whatever you're putting on it, whatever it's money. So when you say that Scion beats that, that is a high calling.
If you set the offense team to R7, it did not lose all week versus Saw.
So I can speak to that. I came extremely close to losing it against an all R9, Saw, Luthen, Kyle Katarn, and the issue that I ran into, and it was, they had the 10% damage per debuff level 6 of Saw, which of course you've got the benefit of having grit. So I feel like, all right, my Sina Django and Fennec are going to be all squared away. Within 10 seconds of the opening of that battle, my Fennec had died twice. So they focused her down. She died extremely quickly, and I was ready to back out because it looked so hopeless. What's fascinating is Sina Django one-manned it with counters. It was fascinating, and Saw, like, you've got like. You're not always countering back into, because you have Worthless Guy or whatever, the summon that is out there with Marked, and most of the time he was countering the summon, but once he wipes him a couple of times, he doesn't come back. And so Sina Django did a lot of work, but I could have easily lost that. Sina Django died, I want to say, 3 times during the match, but he gets Bounty Hunter's Resolve back each time he kills somebody, and because he was killing the summon enough, he kept it. Only reason I bring that up is it did not feel good. I had assumed it was going to be good because I loved that grit component and I was very excited about the squad, but I think I may have just sort of pushed its boundaries of like low rolling some aspect of the targeting RNG, but that was my experience.
Thank you for sharing. Well, we've heard a bit from everybody but Fatal. I mean, feel free to chime in whenever, guys, because I threw my thoughts on the 4 focus datacrons right in the pot. But what else did you guys observe?
I don't have much good to say about them. I mean, like, I like the concept, but this first set is just a bunch of offense tools. And like, I mean, as y'all just talked about, Dadbod taking down Saw. It's like, well, Saw was like the one interesting defensive sauce coming out of this set. And so this FTC literally just like took the air out of the room for me, that I'm just like, yeah, thanks guys. That's well done.
I get it.
I don't know, like, yeah, like we got 4 FTCs and none of them really have any defensive power. After end 5v5, maybe, but like even that feels like a stretch to me. That I don't know. The concept of FT2s is cool. This feels like CG playing it safe on their first set. That I'm like not in my feelings about it. I'm just
I think that feels fair because we know that they could make them more absurd, of course.
You go first.
No, it's fine. I think you're all correct. They don't want set 1 of Datacrons repeat. They don't want the super ray to be applied out to where it was like people were seriously contemplating leaving because they were trying to figure it out. So it does feel like it's just a twist on the nozzle a little bit to say, here's some stuff, right? It's Hera. Hera would be a 5s. I think everybody could agree, because then once you're opening up the door to all the pieces, still so much stronger. Agreed. The seeing what you're doing with Scion, it's like less utilized characters and obscure moments. Nobody's really crushing or thrashing a GL. You have Super Sid who's out there doing stuff. So it's like, yes, they said here's level 1. let's test the water on one cost, what it's going to be like, what we're going to do with it, and then how it'll be applied. I think they're scratching the surface, right? Like the doubt still feels very good on where I would say other teams, and as Dagger said, and the team, it's like doubt can go somewhere and really mess up a fight if it's given the right perspective, and I don't think we're hitting that yet. Same other stuff. It's like, yes, you got one notch where they don't want to go Great Mothers DC, and they don't want to go set one.
Fair.
The thing I'll say, because I have seen conversations about this, and I want to be very fucking clear on this. I'm not saying that I want FTCs to be like Grey Mother's Crown level shit, or even like Balin Crown, because even though Balin Crown was not Grey Mother's Crown, by any means,
Yeah,
It was
Yeah.
still
it
pretty
was
impressive.
still
dude, those
Yeah.
numbers were nuts.
Fair.
And I'll even get more specific. When I say Balin Crown, I'm not talking about the 400% offense because I didn't have that shit, so I don't know what that felt like. I only know what it felt like to have that happen to me. When I say Balin Crown, I'm even just talking like, okay, this is like a Super Bowl Crown, or like, right? Just like this FDC has like 200% protection and like dark side look on it.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't even
30% defense,
necessarily,
yeah.
I don't necessarily need it to be like that, but like, I don't know. Here's like a random thought exercise: is like, let's pretend that this Africron just like reruns the old Afronite again, which had like some defense potential, but not like a crazy amount.
For all the folks
But-
at home that forgot, that's the bonus turn at Battlestar.
The bonus
yeah?
turn one.
And
Right,
don't
like-
forget you gain 5% protection.
Sure. Like,
Sorry.
would that be too much on the FTC right now? Like, would that feel extreme? Because like, it's not strictly better than this effect, to be clear, I guess, but it is a sharper effect that can have like some more dramatic results, I guess.
I think for 3 versus 3, it may need more oomph. Like what I guess one way to look at that is what was handling it for budget on defense with both murder droids and the FDC? What was handling?
On Chewie. On Chewie's
yeah,
been
that's-
budgeted for years.
Dash on Chewie probably still handles that shit, which is kind of the funny thing, right? Like this FDC with the untargetability act, like the bonus turns are crazy. It would almost have to be like both, right? It would have to be untargetable plus bonus turn, and maybe then you've got some like crazy sauce going on. That
Yeah.
almost sounds like frustrating. I don't know if that's like the correct thing to say.
Yeah, I think your
Well,
mechanics,
you know-
but
Final judgment should be reserved until after a season of 5 versus 5 with it as well. But I think, just on 1 week of observation from 3 versus 3, I can see where you're coming from. It doesn't feel like it has the most oomph, and I didn't really need a win harder version of Afra versus Jabba, generally speaking. So I see it. See where you're coming from.
If we're talking about them in concept, I just want to say, like, again, I talk to people who aren't at the top end. So indulge me for a moment about talking about the non-top 100 people for a second. I think one of the issues a lot of people I talk to have brought up is that they say that these are for new players, but which new players have Dad, Bud, Boba, and Afra? Right? It's like I understand that, like, the purpose of these, but the newer players look at them like, that's cool. My Phoenix can suck a little bit
Well,
less.
When they say that they're 4 new players, I think they mean in terms of their general low gear requirement
Sure.
accessibility.
Sure.
you
But
know?
who has a Gear 5 Dad Bod Boba or a Gear 5 Afra that they're using? The point I'm trying to make is that the people who these feel, again, I'm talking about what people feel, right? Because like the players who I talk to who are lower level, they're like, these feel like I'm supposed to get these, but like I don't have these teams, and I won't have these teams for like a year or two. So going forward, if we see these, I would like to see like actual like Imperial Trooper type things get these, actual early game teams like Padme or JKA, stuff like that.
Okay.
I
If I'm
only
looking
add,
at-
I only sorry.
No, well, the one thing I will say is like Hera and Zalbar do kind of feel like backing up what they're saying, and then I guess like in Dadbod's case, in my mind, it almost feels like CG is like Dadbod has been like kind of trashed by a lot of the
Right.
player base as like this dude fucking sucks.
Mhm.
And whether or not that's true, it feels like CG kind of trying to throw a bone in that direction. That I'm not too worried for, because I think you're correct, but I'm not too worried seeing it this set because it's kind of half and half between like new
Yeah.
player and like old shit getting
Yeah, it's fair.
revamped. I think when we see the second set and beyond, I think it would be good to keep what you're saying in mind, because like if it's like 50-50 split of like new player versus other stuff, I feel like that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. As far as like
if they start
where
slipping on that, then I
Yeah.
think 100% we take them to task.
I was more just talking about the sentiment about the people who CG, and again, that CG probably should have like maybe used their words a little bit better. They have a history of not doing that, where they said like you said, if it's 50, I'm happy with the split. I like these focus crons. The ones that they picked, I guess I should say. But yeah, I will just say that there is some. I hope that they keep the fact that you work on Gear 5s in mind going forward, like you said.
Fair.
Yeah, I will also say that the how do I phrase this? One of the things that I find interesting about these datacrons is less that they have stats or things that aren't on the proper sets, like the defense or the turn meter, but it's that they. I get that they're overcosted, but it's weird to me how they like scaled the overcost, right? Um, like the thing newer players could use the most are at the end of the datacron, but it costs so many more things. Are they just planning on newer players just not having any datacrons at all? So this is the only one they invest in? And if that's the case, how are these newer players actually getting datacron materials to level these up?
Money.
You get what I'm saying, though.
The
Like,
secret is money.
yeah, I said I find it interesting, not intolerable.
Fair.
One thing I'll say that as I kind of look at the first week's meta and some of the data, I'm a little disappointed. I love my Sidious Cron, like all this. They're fun to play with, but it really kind of foils some of the coolness of like. I actually think that Afracron with Chrysanthemum. I didn't set it because I had assumed it was going to be vulnerable to Sidious, and having those added offensive weapons. We always talk about sort of trying to maintain some balance is probably an overstatement. Just some semblance of viability defensively for like structuring holds and having like something that's formidable. And the more weapons that are out there that on the offensive side that are exclusively offensive, it just feels like that balance is harder. And like it definitely killed the Africron for me. Not killed it, but it killed the most intriguing aspect, which is, hey, you've got this like really killer pre-taunt, retaunt, like kind of well-suited tank that's designed for that squad finally. And it's like, no, you do, but then you lose it for 59. So that was one of the things that just kind of hit me.
Fair.
I won't claim to speak for everyone here, but there are three, technically four types of datacrons that really annoy me. Number one is making individual characters gods, and that includes like Wampa, like things like Wampa Omi, but on a datacron. I don't like it when. I mean, it's great for people who don't have as many options. Don't get me wrong, but when we at the top end, it's like when Sidious has a datacron, like he does. Yes, that raises the floor, but like Sasha says, it kind of cuts some of the creativity, which does take some of the fun out of GAC for people like myself who want to find ways to have fun. And I don't hate that it exists. I just find it annoying, and I personally don't like it. The other ones are anything that involves bonus turns on a level 9. Just, they're almost always terrible, or, not fun, I should say. And then overtuned stats, like the Balin Kron, where like it's random. So you may have gotten a good one, you may have gotten the bad one, right? Though those are the other thing. And then the other half.
I'm glad that I'm not getting kicked in the teeth by something like that right now. So kudos to CG. Credit given where credit due.
Yeah, and then the third one is incentivizing undersizing, but that's like a half of one. So like the dad bod one where you can 2-man. If that works in 5s, it's going to be really obnoxious.
Yeah.
Right.
Painful to set any kind of defense where you could expose yourself to giving that kind of value. Yeah.
And those are the things that don't get me wrong. CG has come a long way on datacrons, and I like most of the changes that they've made to datacrons, including the FDCs. So I'm not trying to take them to task too much on this, but continue the criticism, and hopefully it continues to improve.
Sure. All right, guys. Next item here. We've touched on Sidious in a couple of ways here while talking about meta-analysis, but just wanted to mention that during previous discussions about the level 6 for him and options for it, there are a few reasonable contenders. And when we last spoke, I was vouching for the 10% stacking offense. Seems pretty good. Doesn't bother me to have it, and I enjoyed it here in week 1. But I saw data showing, and it seems so obvious now, that if you wanted to use him to take down Tuskens easily, all you need is the anti-revive level 6. So I made sure to re-roll that for this week. I was shouting it from the hilltops in Discord today with all the folks. So I'm hoping that works out for me. But that's
to your point.
Hmm?
To your point, I fought against a trench team with my Sidious,
Mhm.
and it had the trench level 9, and Watt gave the tank tech to Dooku. So I could not kill either of those two with dots. And I did
Right.
not have the stacking offense, and I still won. So to Tass's point, I don't think the actual killing of the other characters is something you can just do over time. So I agree with Tass. I currently have the bonus turn. I didn't re-roll off, but I have had a very, very busy last 3 days. So I didn't really get to do. Didn't get to do much. But I do agree with Tass. I think the no revive is by far the best option.
Well, appreciate you sharing. Yeah, really wasn't thinking about it initially, and when I made the video with Aesop here on set 21, we weren't really thinking about it. And it's when you stop to give it a thought, it's really a case of it has zero value in a whole bunch of situations where you're going to apply them because you're just going to kill them anyway, and they're not going to come back. But for maximum flexibility, having +1 offensive option for how you can go after Tuskens is a big deal. Lord knows the number of times I've needed something like gas to get through a cleanup or something else where I would otherwise use gas to take on the Tuskens, but you don't have the luxury all the time.
Also, it's not the worst idea to just have a no revive Sith Kron for 5s. You won't be using Sidious likely, but having that level 6 is probably still going to be useful in some capacity.
Maybe. Guys, those were the items that I had prepared for meta-analysis. We've covered, before we go on to best and, favorite attack of the week, I wanted to give you guys the opportunity. Any other items you wanted to talk about?
Do we want to talk about the forward-looking Jocasta new, like what Jedi Vanguard for the week will look like?
Yeah, we can, yeah, I think
Or
that
it may
makes
be better to
sense.
do it next week when we've got some field experience with
Well,
it.
No. I mean, usually we're thinking about week in review from data, but everybody watching this is going to know that we're all kind of prognosticating here. We're taking our best reasonable guess at it. So my intention, I'll show just as soon as I'm out of here. I'll show how I landed for mods. But you're thinking that your two options, if you were inclined to set this on defense just to see what your opponent might do against it, would be your only two options for leaders are Qui-Gon and Kelleran, really.
Mhm.
I don't think I want to apply Qui-Gon here because I would rather have Qui-Gon JKA Cam as some type of offensive option somehow. I would much rather set Kelleran, Jocasta, and then the only two options that look really good to me. I mean, you could put in Zaris, technically, I think, but I believe I would prefer either Shock. And then Luminara is interesting, but once you start to weaken the Jedi, the leadership from Kelleran is going to apply protection up to the wounded Jedi, so it's going to shut off all that goodness. So probably not, but my eyes still
Yeah,
ever
it's
watchful to see if
Shocker
there's an
there.
opportunity to sneak Luminara into some type of good use. Sorry, what was that there?
Yeah, it's basically Shocker's Eris. Like, unfortunately, the Lumi Omicron doesn't work the way we want it to here
Yeah.
because of Kelleran's lead.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when we're talking about defensive applications, Sasha, it's like which 3 of these 4 characters are you going to set It's going to be Beck lead with Jocasta, and that leaves you with a coin flip for the other two. I think probably Xeris, but
Well, what does the room think? Here, I just finished my raid run, so let me go ahead and show where I landed on Jocasta. My next Relic 9 is going to CX2. Jocasta knew probably, shortly thereafter, but after
pretty much
some
every
rigorous discussion, I know last week we talked about this in our Jocasta new video. We talked about this, how we might mod her. Several options have emerged. I've seen people like Aesop go with offense modding and really lean into that. Fatal, I recall you were talking last week about potentially you weren't you I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you weren't like 100% committed to it, but you were thinking something like full defense protection primaries just to max out the value from her staying alive, eventually being able to transform, pop off, but you're still going to have that unique her uniques are going to be preserved best by her just staying alive. That was one way. And then talking with Dagger here when we first unlocked the character, he was saying, you know, speed is probably the one thing she doesn't really give herself. You get a lot of help with offense, crit chance, so on. And so that was the third viable path that I had considered. I was also originally, honestly, thinking about a fast crit damage set, 2 piece of health, protection, 3 protection primaries, and a crit damage triangle, something like that. In the end, when I sat down and looked at it, there's probably any one of those ways have their merits. I think why I ultimately went with speed is that this cost me the least in terms of tear up from other characters while still building a satisfactory spec. So this is how I landed. About 78,000 health, 117,000 protection, 343 speed. I do have one slice I might get on the triangle to push this close to about 348. Something like that will be the end spot. A bit of offense added, about 12,500 here. Special offense. Don't have to really worry about the crit chance because when she eventually can use, it does not exist. She'll be satisfied. She'll have enough to get the job done. So that's where I kind of landed. How about the room?
yeah, I just want to say that when you're talking about relics, I think pretty much every conquest unit has earned an R9 except for the
Maybe
specifically
Dadbod,
Trench
maybe.
and Dadbod. But I think pretty much every one of them has earned like some consideration for R9, and I think she's going to be no different. Just again for the extra bulk, extra offense, extra just everything.
Completely agree.
I did end up on a speed set similar to yourself for the same reasons you said for the most part. Um, I I, I really think that the modding for her will change once we get 2 5s, and then even once again once we get the rest of her team. But I think
Yeah.
because of the team she's going to be in with Beck lead, I really do think that survivability is not going to be a huge issue, especially if you pair her with Xeris. So it's mostly just how do you make her get to her abilities or cycle her abilities as fast as possible. That was my thought process behind modding her. I think she'll land an offense set for 5v5 if I decide to remod her. But I think in 3v3 specifically, she's going to get more turns, and the speed set will give her even more turns. Like again, we're talking like 2 more turns over the course of the battle, maybe. So
Fair.
I ended up really leaning into survivability in threes, in part because of the comps that we were describing, whether it's Shock or Barris. My assumption was Barris. And it was also kind of influenced a bit by the Datacron sets we've got available, light side thick. And I had a heavy protection with some health on it, no other stats but beyond protection and health, and light side thick, which in many ways, I feel like those stats because they're factored into the Beck leadership, and like his unique converts the health into protection, his protection creates the Padawan lessons that you get. Like I think in my case with all R9, it was like 145% offense from his lead, right? Because I was getting, I think it was 29 stacks of Padawan lessons. So there's a lot of offense there, and I just wanted her to be able to hang around in the fight long enough to use it. So that's what I ended up going with: protection heavy and high survivability. But cost me maybe 20-25 speed. But I felt like it was worth the sort of added probability of her just being around late in the match. But yeah, it'll
Sure.
be interesting. I don't know if I really expect a ton out of it this week, but that was my thinking.
All right. Who's next? This is your Jocasta confessional.
I
Go ahead, Middle.
no, I did end up doing 3 defense because that would be like my posing on defense angle, and I think the team is just like sauceless on defense right now.
Mm-hmm.
Not like concerned about it, but yeah,
Mhm.
that team just stands out and lets you do whatever you want to it, and that's usually a bad recipe for defense unless you're just hoping that your opponent like overthinks it and shoots themselves in the foot.
You feeling
Uh,
Xeris yourself?
Xeris is like the safe default third. It's just like a generic, gives you a little bit of reactivity type shit.
Did you mod her anyway off the beaten path? Like just generally, just super health, no, some speed added, but that's kind of the standard recipe. Did you change that up at all for her?
I just gave her like my traditional gas mods. I just want offense, protection, defense with
I'm sorry, I was speaking on Xeris.
Oh, I'm not remodding that shit for offense. Whatever that beats, I imagine it'll beat handily. If I'm posting Barris on defense, I do traditionally like to give her more speed because I think her TM gain plus auto cleanse is a little bit underrated in terms of any TM she gains pushes that speed you invest in her more that I think
Mhm.
can catch people by surprise. But if I'm just using that shit on offense, I don't really care about her stats at all. So no, I
Fair.
don't really.
Fair.
I did Heller and Beck. I don't know why I did this. It was more, I guess it was just like a personal journey. I took Heller and Beck off of health mods towards defense mods. It was just like all right, if I'm taking this team seriously, I will sacrifice like 20k health or whatever to make this character like not go anywhere in a meaningful way.
So
And
probably at most, I see that costing you like 2 stacks of Padawan
yeah,
lessons, right? Something like that.
yeah, it shouldn't actually add up to like all that much of a difference. And so I was jokingly like being a kid is running 3x health on your Keller and Beck, growing up as running defense instead, or some shit like that. It was just like, yeah, the stack difference isn't all that much. And I do take Keller and Beck seriously alongside Jocasta dude, that I do kind of want him to be in the mix.
Hmm.
So I don't know. It makes some sense to me. Like I know that we have 2 characters built for protection and Keller and Beck actively shrinking his health pool, that like Barris isn't technically like achieving the most value, but I don't really think she needs to. I think anything helps.
Fair.
That like,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. Like maybe even if we're talking using on offense, like maybe you just run Shakti instead of Barris.
Yeah,
Some
on
decent boost.
offense. Okay, yeah, that's a different thing. So you're not thinking, you're thinking that the passive healing from Theris and the potential big heal when shit hits the fan is gonna justify her presence on defense more than like a super fast shock T. Because I push mine to 360 plus to maybe, I don't know, do shock T stuff in a horrific way.
I don't think you should post Jocasta do on defense unless you disrespect your opponent or you just hope that they forget how to play Galaxy Heroes. If you're just like on like a maybe they fall asleep like 1 minute into the fight and then time out, then she might be able to get you a hold. But I don't know if you have much of a problem. I could probably beat Jocasta new using Fugitive Omega plus Nihilus. We are talking that little sauce.
So what I'll say is I see where you're coming from. I would say that right now we're still, even with a defense like what you're comfortable setting, it feels like you still have between 1 and 3 teams that are at your will, 56, 57. And everything else is going to be a familiar face. So I wonder if this just isn't the same old drop the new team on the bottom front. And that's fine. You could 57 this. I believe you, but it's going to
What are you going
probably.
to use is the question.
Huh? Yeah, exactly. That's really the value I could see this week, is that I wonder if I might force an interesting choice on you. To your point, though, it will be beaten, so it'll only be interesting if I set heavier than what I'm usually doing to create some value for whatever that choice was. Uh, I think
I'll
there's a
give you
place
a
though.
counter argument.
Sure.
She doesn't beat Lord Vader, and I don't have to read her kit. Put her on defense.
Solid case if I ever heard one.
Yeah,
Fair.
the biggest thing is like I agree that like I don't think she's going to be great if you post her on defense, but like what is she beating on offense that she needs to beat on offense?
Yeah, can't say. And honestly, I'll be
Yeah.
disappointed if this is another offensive intent team in the final conception of it. Just don't need it,
She feels
right?
Luthen. She feels like Luthen. I think she'll have a defensive application on her team, but she feels like Luthen.
Maybe. We'll see. I don't know. Yeah. She feels like a titan. She's like, if anything from the event can be believed. I know we're not as overtuned as the event character, but the design intent is there.
She is really not that far off from the event character. It would just be that she has like less starting protection to hurt you with. But like, no, that the Jocasta we fight roughly is her. And actually, I don't think
Nice.
she has the Omicrons on, so she's actually technically a little bit worse.
Oh, yeah. All right. TJ, did we get your thoughts in on anything you had with Jocasta? I think we caught everybody else.
No, and I think it's pretty well covered. I don't think, just like her with her kit and the Omicrons and everything else, I don't think we know her final form.
Mhm.
I've seen the various builds. I went speed protection just to get something baselined. I do like her numbers though. I was looking at how easy it was and looking at everybody in the guild and looking around, and her numbers get large fast, and she's generally a fast character. And then she has a pretty good, because of the kit and then the special crit chance, her numbers are gonna blow up. So I agree. We'll see what it looks like. Once we see Mace, we'll know what she's gonna look like. Obviously the other characters. The Beck thing with her, um, I could see, I guess, 50-50. Obviously, it's a new character to the thing. I don't know what it's going to do towards, because you have to come up with either a shock reserve. I think everybody will agree on that. I don't know what it's going to change as far as like, if the counter was 100%, is she really adjusting for the fight that you was like, oh, I got to go use, okay, JMK, because this is going to be the one that's going to do it for me. I really have to. I don't know if she swings the hammer that hard right now versus anything else.
There's no way
I
she's
get
swinging. There's no way she herself is fine, but we're all accepting that this is a team of limited
it's
value.
not that. Let me ask each of you. Minus, I can't use fatal. Let me ask each of you. How much did you walk away with that you didn't use? Again, I'm not looking at the setup. If you go look at how many things, like, man, I still had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 solid counters that you just didn't use elsewhere because you saved too much. It's an easy thing to save so much that you saying I'm going to pull something that otherwise won't be used somewhere else. I don't see happening right now, because for the most part we're all making the same mistake again. It's that fatal. We're all doing the same thing and you walk away. I am saying I tried to set heavier and I was trying to set things, but I still walked away with, I didn't use, and I can count on both hands how many quality teams that will kill something that I had still available. So it's I don't know what you're saying you're going to achieve by saying Keller and Beck lead. That is generally dying to either bounty hunter. Sure, I can't bounty hunter it. Well, that's fine. What else? So that's my concern when we say it's like I'm gonna go set it bottom front. I don't see what you're pulling, but sure.
Fair. All right, guys. Other meta topics you had. Floor's still open. Get it while it's hot. All right. Well, if that's good on that, let's move on to best attack and defense of the week. Let me pull up the tab for us. So all here. Let's see. Yeah, obviously my favorite attack was seeing that the Seer Malicos Maul was going to work here against Sasha's thing. Yes, I learned that Balin, versus Ahsoka, Ezra, and Padawan Sabine Didn't work. I don't know why I thought it would, but yeah, it didn't. So that was cool. I think there was another. Yeah, I mean, it's no surprise to anybody if you've been seeing opponents with protection modding on their Great Mothers, Malgus, Malik, anything. I mean, I guess Malgus, Malik, DR would strictly be the best team to go after this with, but if you have the Zalbar Omicron, you're really not going to make the split that way, right? Even if you don't believe in it having value for you on defense, surely you'll take it as an effective offense, that type of thing. Yes, this C Bane thing is unusual that Fatal had Sasha and I said. I wanted to mention this though because with the Sith Datacron, there's always added incentive to consider something a little kooky with Sith. The one thing I will say is that this does force a pretty terrible choice on you, depending on what you end up using. The circumstance can easily emerge such that you can kill only one of the sides. And then what are you going to do? If you kill Savage, now you have Rule of Two active, which is what I did to myself. But if you kill Bane, then you still have C Savage. Like there isn't really an easy answer there. So to that
What about
point,
C? What about C? Doesn't C linking the sides make that like relative? Again, I don't know, but like you both
I
said
didn't
it. So
have it. I would have maybe.
Yeah, I actually saw it in my match against, I think it was Rockstar, set it in the back zone,
I got you.
and I happened to have C, so I took C solo against it, and I didn't win, but I got the sides out.
Yep, you sure did.
And I thought I might be able to like meaningfully win the race to alt and be able to DPS down his C. And while I won the race to alt, it was super close just because he's got, sort of Bane as an accelerant there.
Mhm.
And I had no shot against his C. His C had ramped considerably more than mine. So yeah, it took the sides, but at best it was just setting it up for a two
Fair
shot.
enough.
Nice.
That's a really easy 2-shot though.
It is.
Super
You're right, and it costs it costs a lot. Yeah, we kind of feel the loss of Savage a bit. Certainly the loss of Bane and the loss of C, but I say creative. I think really effective B.
Hey, yeah, but the thing is, at the end of the day, Bane isn't beating Lord Vader, so you can post it.
Yeah.
And as far as losing Savage goes, Treya without Savage still beats Tuskens.
Well,
I'm
I did
pretty
want to
sure,
show you
right?
this here. And again, I'm not saying this is representative of the player base, but here is Aesop in round 1 doing Bane Bastila against Slacker, Dre,
That team's
Donna.
not good.
Whatever. I'm just pointing out stuff like that is out. All right.
Yeah, but like, yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. By the way, Trench, I don't know if any of you have any observations to change my mind about this, but the Trench level 9 seems really bad. The Dooku one is more useful to me, but either way, this team is still getting dunked on, so I'm disappointed with Trench on defense so far.
To your point, if you're going to post it on defense, Trench is probably a little bit better of an L9, but don't post the team.
And then I did want to give an honorable mention to Bam, Sana, Dash. I know you favor this one, Dagger. What I did like is that it holds to DTMG. Not always. DTMG can beat it, but DTMG can lose. And that's exactly the type of gamble that I'm looking to force on you. It's tough enough to give uncertain decisions to an opponent right now. So, yeah, Fugitive Omega has done its intended job of soaking up a galactic legend. So even though nobody did anything interesting, I like that. Dagger, what do you got? Favorite attack, defense? What stands out?
My favorite attack for both round 2. I got to use
Ever.
Wampa versus GG, and I got to use Sidious versus Trench. And that was just a lot of fun.
Trench is
And as
classic.
much as I will say I don't like having, one-man armies, they sure are fun as hell to use.
Fair.
If you're going to give me the toy, I'm going to use it. That doesn't mean I have to like the fact that you're doing it. But yeah, they were fun. I really like both of them.
I feel like the GG droids is pretty figured out by everybody and anybody. I wonder if you guys had any observations on the GG level 9 from set 21 standing out in any way. I know that Aesop said it with Sith Eternal and Watt against me in the back wall at the end of last week. I basically rotated things so that I could use Inquisitorius there, and it got the job done just fine. But I wonder if you had anything.
I don't think the GG Cron's very good in 3s.
Hmm.
I think I think it might be better than Stap in 5s, but the Stap Cron, I think, with the DI is so much better in 3s. I mean, it falls into that same category of don't post it, but
Well, back to the theme of like being vulnerable to the one-man bands that are out there, like Sidious. The GG level 9 cron is all about, attacking him assisting with 50% extra damage whenever anybody uses an ability. You can't assist, you can't attack out of turn against Sidious. So I faced one and against it was
Yep.
Baby Yoda, I think, in the last round, and Sidious was a clean, 59 because GG can't assist.
Yep.
Very fair.
We might live in a world where Sidious is beating this in 5v5 too because of the mechanics.
Mhm.
If people are going to lean really hard on that level 9 on Grievous on defense, the fact that you can't assist means that, there's no DI, which means you might actually be able to kill them. But I digress.
I used it in my LV, my lone LV cleanup when it was like GG, B1, and Stap. I think I used the GG cron there, so he could assist every time, if I
Nice.
recall.
And then round 1 on defense, the Schadenfreude of watching other people just eat complete shit versus Lord Vader was just good enough for me.
Fair. They ate up
Just
Bane,
keep rolling. It doesn't get
BKM.
better.
Hey, to your point, you were talking about Leia earlier being effective. I don't know why they used the Afro
But
Crown
Leia
here.
can win. I don't know why you use that Kron, because that Kron's dumb, but
But they didn't work. JMK ate it. Yes, Slacker ate it with crew. Okay. Also, this Crown. Okay.
anyway, I'm not saying that this was like the best sequence of attacks. I'm just saying
but
that the
satisfaction.
Schadenfreude the Schadenfreude of seeing other people eat shit felt good.
Fair. TJ, how about you? Favorite attack and defense?
Actually, Taff, you mind if I go? Because I'm going to need
you
to
gotta
jump in just a sec.
Let's have it.
I
Let's
gotta
have it,
jump
and
in.
we'll also take your final thoughts while you once you're done with that.
Also, go Warriors.
Sure. I was there last night. That was awesome.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm glad my voice is still audible at least. So I would say, I think actually my favorite attack was one that which is marginally effective, and I talked about it before. It was the Cyana Django Fennec one against Saw. I just like using new stuff. I wanted to find an application for it, and it was like. I know the data looks really good, like as Dagger called out. I don't think it's really lost at above R7. But I think it's actually beatable, and I suspect that if you have a enough offense and enough armor pen crit damage, just sort of the sufficient offensive stats on a Saw squad, and the third is like a high DPS like Kyle. I think that can stop it. But anyway, I had fun using that, even though it was a little heart pounding. And then I would say, let's see, my favorite defense. I actually. I think it was just setting the full on Afra, and I used the Afra cron. I was like I said, I went through the whole thought process. Can I bring Chrysanthemum in finally and have a nice tank for it? I didn't because of the vulnerability I had assumed that created to Sidious, so I left it with Afra and her two droids and got a number of holds with it. So. It was fun to see that viability. I suspect as people parse through the data from week one that it's not going to be viable for week two, but it was fun to have. And kind of to that point, as I look forward tasks, going into this next week, I had fun this past week. Like I said, it was it was absolutely mud wrestling for you and I in the arena that Fatal set for us, and match one that was fantastic. My other two battles were really good with a lot of bleeding all around. I'm hoping that that's going to be that there's some way to retain some semblance of that for like week 2. I don't know about week 3. I'm just afraid of like moving really quickly into like an extremely cheesy meta. I know that was Fatal's experience this past week. And I started to see stuff being solved. So I'm anxious about that. And it is making me think like maybe I seek to go kind of crazy heavy on D, or at least see if there's a few tricks to be played. But that's the tide I feel like I'm swimming against.
Fair enough. Well, appreciate that. Thanks for joining us, man. If you got to scoot, thank you for making the time.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Take care, guys.
All right, have a good one. All right.
I didn't get to say this, but I look forward to being in the Bay Area in the next couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, meet up with them.
Right,
Take
right.
pictures. Let's hear all about it.
Definitely gonna try to work something out. Yeah, definitely
it
gonna
looks
try.
like my camera.
I was gonna mention that your camera froze, but your face is in a funny position, so I felt like the viewers would enjoy it.
See. Very professional.
I mean, what are you gonna do? Edit it out?
No. Yeah, certainly not that. Certainly not that. We know that that's not going to happen. That's fair. I don't resent you for that. All right, back to you, TJ. What are we doing here? Your favorite attack and defense of the week?
Easy enough. It's all week, man. One, getting to use old school Star Killer against the Cal setup on Ray felt good to reiterate. I know we did it on your stream. That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Had a lot of fun doing that. And then it was just using Balin against the Nest variants of the Rays was the remaining. So I know it's not got a really good
even
win
with
percentage.
the 25% turn meter, because they would have been leading with that.
Doesn't matter. I have a good enough, I guess, offense back end and maybe good building. I don't know. But they were good setups. They had good stuff on it, but I was still able to come out clean. Now, was there clutch points in the fight? Yes. Were butts puckered on certain points? Yeah, I got close on certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess superior modding, maybe. But either way, I was able to make it work all week, and that was a lot of fun.
I got you. All right. Fair enough. Fatal, how about you? Your favorite attack and defense of the week?
The only fun that I had this week was calling an airstrike on a hacker within like 15 minutes of finding out they existed, and then
appreciate it. Much love. Yeah, that was really cool how that went down. I thought this might have been the hacker that you thought you'd fought a couple weeks back, so that's why I reached out to you. But appreciate the assist that got to Meathead, and that ban went out expeditiously.
Then I want to make it clear though, like that not necessarily, anyone out there don't expect it always to be that way. It was just to be available, and he had some fun with it, and it's cool shit.
Yeah. No, credit given where credit due, though.
And also, honestly, I would argue a bit of a sympathetic villain here. I mean, fuck cheaters, but like, look, man, if you're an Iridium, I understand being pissed at some point. This is them on their JRPG. I'm gonna go kill God. Like,
yeah, I mean, it was a bold move, and
Yeah, I mean, imagine being set up by CG to lose for 3 to 6 months straight.
Yeah.
I'd have some anger to Fatal. I'd have some anger too. Not that I'm trying to condone or justify it. I'm just saying, like,
you can understand. Again, it's a sympathetic villain. You can understand how you would get to that point.
It's true.
Yeah.
But the risk the man took was calculated. But boy, was he bad at math.
I don't know. There were some funny holds in the first match that I don't think will happen the rest of the season for the most part. Like Saw got some holds. Cool. It'll be dad botted.
Mm-hmm.
Great Mother's holding to DR seems kind of cute, but I also have no idea how that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like Morgan last standing won somehow.
Okay.
I don't understand how. She's
wow,
not exactly.
People tried actual teams, non-GL teams against your Bad Batch. That's shocking.
Yeah, but it's like almost entirely way under budget. I don't really put much stock in it.
Yeah.
Star Killer, I guess, losing is kind of cute.
For the record, I did DR versus Great Mothers, and my DR got into the red. So I do believe that DR is squishy enough to actually get kind of punked out. And I also believe that Zalbar has no damage. So I'm not saying it's like one of those like, haha, my Jar Jar deleted your thing kind of percentages. Is my
You
guess.
should consider trying to put mods on your Zalbar sometime or something, because mine kicks dicks in.
No, I'm not.
Like
Look,
steel
I
toe
didn't say
boot
my.
style.
Did I say Zelbar? I
Yeah, you
said
did
Darth
say
Revan.
Zalbar.
Oh, I meant Darth Revan. Darth
Oh,
Revan
okay.
got into the red.
Okay.
Darth Revan got into the red. Yeah, and because he's squishy. That's what I meant. My apologies if I said Zalbar. But I'm just saying I could see how people could lose Darth Revan in that like kind of haha my like Jar Jar deleted your thing. Right? That 0.1%. Yeah.
Completely fair. All right. No other notes from you there, Fatal?
No, not really. This is just going to be a bunch of experimenting. Like, pretty much the format in this meta for me is, hey, I'm expected to play perfectly because none of my shit's going to hold. And, like, even if I get one hold, it doesn't really matter. Because, like, I'm basically playing old Divi 3 where everyone else is now playing, like, one-shot Divi 3. Where, like, everything dies for 55 to 57.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a fucking, like, I can still just, like, all the old classic 3v3 shit is still in play for me. Like, I could just straight up, like, lose to Tuskens if I, like, throw away one or two teams. Or, like, you know, all the shit that used to be scary in 3v3, if you're a defense-heavy poster, is still scary on top of, like, the big new teams. So, yeah, this season, and, like, most of this offense is just, like, well, my setup wasn't good enough for Queen Amidala, so I lost one or two fights to Queen Amidala, and that auto lost me the round. And then, well, I don't have an answer for LV clone, so I gotta. I mean, everyone was modded for health. That's like literally the worst thing you can do for LV. So,
Fair.
Yeah, just a shit show of an offense. Just kind of trying to prep for week 2.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of like your takeaway and final thoughts then, because that's where I was moving on next. So I figure that's kind of what you were doing.
I was trying to make up content for me being not having much to say for.
I see you. I appreciate you. Well, hey, it is takeaway and final thoughts time. Do you have any other embellishments that you want to throw on for that? Looking ahead into week 2, lessons learned, pearls of wisdom. You know the drill.
I can just like, I don't know. I did, even though the season is annoying to me, I'm still like, if anything, it's making me put on more elbow grease than if I just like had a successful defense. Like I'm trying to just turbo the fuck out of my DR to see if I can pressure Gungans at all. I'm trying to speed up my Great Mothers significantly because my current running theory is that, like, I have always had protection on them, but I was still having some Malgus slip through the cracks that I think just getting Great Mothers faster so that she's putting out more health reductions might actually be kind of the protection still matters, I think, but you need to be getting those health reductions out just to like. The protection buys you time. The health reductions win you the video game. But yeah, just trying to have my cake and eat it too. Call it stupid or not, but I am trying to tenacity splash in various places for various teams to try to contest Sidious, and at least ask like, hey, how much potency does your Sidious have?
Fair.
We will see how that goes.
Appreciate you sharing that. And most of the folks are regular viewers of your stream here, just as well as mine. But in case they're not, where can the good people find you this season?
Yeah, twitch.tv/playbook.tv.
Fantastic. All right, back around to Dagger. How about you? Takeaways and final thoughts. Lessons learned, pearls of wisdom. What do you got for the folks at home?
If it doesn't beat Lord Vader, consider setting it. Because you as well as everyone else should find reasons or find ways to have fun in 3v3. And if you need to talk to me, if you want to talk to me about something this following week, the topics up for discussion are 2K, Baldur's Gate, and COD.
Appreciate that addition. All right. TJ, how about you? Takeaways. What you got for the folks?
Yeah, I'm just going through check boxes. We've talked about it last season. I feel like I think Fatal covered it pretty well. We know where we're at. We know what teams are going to be there, and then what the expected counters are going to be. So solved feels pretty relevant to where we're going to be at for this, I guess, this season. So we'll check boxes. I made some adjustments, so I'll look forward to seeing if that's going to change anything. And I'm looking at honestly, I'm looking at the utilization of doubt more on certain teams, and if I can apply that elsewhere. Um, Afra's fun to have her stuff, but I don't think it's necessary. So it's what other things can I do that might shift either my defense and or get me better holds or wins. So
Okay, completely fair. Thank you for sharing. For my own part, I had the one round where I was playing to Fatal's tune. Fatal's fiddle. There's the term we're looking for. I was playing along to Fatal's fiddle on round one. Only round three did I really get to play it my way, and I think that I need to rotate two of my weaker teams out, but also keep something like Treya for offense. Treya's been really great for me on defense historically in 3 versus 3. I feel that she does have, I think, three really good matchups here in 3 versus 3 offensively that really do incentivize me keeping her. So might look to set another 2 to 3 heavy teams and take that risk because I was able to throw multiple teams against Aesop and mostly clear except for that queen in the back. Having a couple reasonable options for queens seems smart. So it might be something where I keep Treya, not necessarily only for queen, but she's among the options, and set Great Mothers back down knowing that Great Mothers can still be beaten, but I might try to set a couple things that Sidious might devour, and then let them make an interesting choice from there. But that's it for me. Thank you, of course, to my co-host for the show. It's about time to wrap things up. Of course, if you know where to find me live, then you already know about twitch.tv/Tassinix. And of course, I do simulcast now on YouTube, Tassinix Gaming. Been doing that for a little more than a season now, so enjoying that. Gosh, you guys are really ravenous about the YouTube as well. It'll be something like I think I had 250 viewers live compared to something like, I don't know, 70, 80 on Twitch. So appreciate you guys showing out. You're showing me where your interest lies. Aside from that, on my YouTube channel, there is a bunch of other sword-related content that I think you'll be interested in. It is a rebroadcasting point for this very podcast, Plotting and Scheming. But in addition to that, there will be my Datacron set guide videos on set 20 and 21. I make those with Aesop Rock, #1 player in the world. We got the the mod guide videos on characters and factions that you've requested about. Of course, all my previous GAC VODs, the How to Mod Guide series, GAC Omicron tier list, so much more. It's all on out there. So check that out. Anything that you enjoy on there, please give a like and hit subscribe on the channel if you want to see more. Aside from that, if you want to support the channel and go above and beyond the Call of Duty, there are a couple ways to do that. I do have a Cash App that is $Tassinix. My PayPal is tassinix@gmail.com. But if you want to get some enhanced scouting power, early access to some of my content, and dedicated access to hang out with me and the other Grand Arena madmen I hang out with, you'll have to check out my Patreon, patreon.com/Tassinix. For any upwardly mobile Grand Arena player, I think there's something there of interest for you. At $5 a month, you enter the Task House at VIP access level, where you get early access to the Plotting and Scheming podcast, which is coming out Friday mornings at 8 a.m. to our general audience, but patrons are getting it as early as Tuesday night, within hours of us recording it, giving the edge on that first round of the week. In addition, you get early access to the Datacron set guide videos, and of course, dedicated text and voice chat on Discord, where you will usually find me lurking, so pop on in and say hi. Thank you so much to Andrew, Anja, Deadpool Cal 28, JJ's Productions Twitch, Jobin4527, Miasmal, Moose Ross, Raise Malvis, Sam Vimes, Sheepdog 47, Squed, Stark Strategy Gamer, Sweens 14, and White Wolf. Moving on up to the $10 a month tier, VIP Access Plus, you have the option of a Patreon bundle to me and to your choice of either OmegaBot or Hot Utils. OmegaBot is the tool that I feature at the start of my Grand Arena streams, where I get that report showing, the different bar and line graphs, giving you an at-a-glance sense of what your opponent is about offensively and defensively. Anyone can use that tool for free to look at your opponent's last week of history, but only patrons can pull a report with a custom number of weeks, whatever you're looking for. You can have a downloadable HTML version of the report with clickable links that go right back into swugga.gg or Insight, whichever you use. So helps save on the scouting time. And of course, you could go with Hot Utils, the #1 tool for the mass mod management and loadout creation. Nothing else lets you move between your Grand Arena, TB, TW, and raid mods so easily. You can use it to remod your roster comprehensively like Fatal and TJ do. You can slice through, weeks or months of accrued mods in seconds. Got increased functionality for TW for your guild, whole bunch of good stuff. So you could choose either option of VIP Access Plus, but thank you to Dobby, Esh Sotnikamp, Meow for Me, Mini GK, Ploon, Shake23501, Single Malt Jedi, Snack Attack, and Striker. And of course, at VIP Access Premium, this is $15 a month for the Double Bot bundle. Some have said the greatest value bundle in all of Swugga because you get Patreon access to me and both of the bots. So I use both, and certainly through other means, if you wanted to have both, I don't think you could do it cheaper anyway. It's a great package. But thank you so much to Argots, Arj, Big Ninja, Duckstab, Darth Link, Dark Hug, Brick Rack Paddywhack, General Milan, Ivanek, Johnny B. Ottawa, Kev, Hills, Quig, Saldag, Sir Boss, Sophus, The Lost Womp Rat, Wilco, and Zoltre. And at the top of the list, in Jester's Club Elite, the one, the only Nomad's Reaper. This madman pops into stream from time to time, drops hundreds of subs, thousands of biddies, incredibly generous support over the years. Thank you so much, good. And of course, last but never least, our special thanks. First, to Yoda Force, one of my original supporters way back in the day, bought me the mic that I'm speaking to on right now, and even though he has long since quit the game, we wish him well from the other side. To Mrs. T, my wife, thank you for all you do in the background with, bringing me alcohol, bringing me coffee, or just keeping our daughter from tearing our home apart while I'm trying to be halfway decent at a phone game. And of course, to Dagger, TJ, Sasha Aisha, and Fatal, my co-hosts here on Plotting and Scheming. Gentlemen, it is a pleasure and a privilege to once again record our show together. We're damn near 2 years in, and you guys still make yourselves available on a weekly basis despite your work and family schedules. Can't tell you how much I appreciate it because I learn from you guys every week. Hopefully the feeling is mutual from time to time, but regardless, it's about our community. They love what we're doing. They pick up a lot from the show, and I have you guys to thank for making it so engaging, so interesting. Thank you guys so much. Moving back over to the main scene, that wraps up week 1. We've put a foot in the water. We kind of know what we're dealing with, and time to tighten up. See how nasty you can make your defenses here for the start of week 2. Hopefully today's show helped. But until next time, it's been real. It's been awesome. It's been real awesome. Take care.